Glad you're here on time. I was afraid we'll be here late.
Well, I came as fast as I could. We don't have much time. Brief me.
Tom Bogo is my former employee. He left me for a better job, but now he's jobless. And the next thing I hear is caught in drug trafficking.
Drug trafficking? You're well aware of my take on drug trafficking?
Of course I do.
Then why did you call me?
Tom Bogo is innocent. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
How sure are you?
Tom Bogo can only take what is his, clean and honestly. How long have we known each other?
Oh, come on, don't even go there.
I have to, Mwako. I have known you for many years, and we have dealt with more sensitive issues than this one. Tom Bogo is an innocent person, and I cannot allow an innocent person to go to prison without I try to help.
It's for the court to decide who is innocent.
We both know how the system works in this country.
Then he should not have been in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Drop the prejudice and listen to me. Listen to me. The young man is an honest person. And I will do everything to support him and give him a second chance in life.
Is that important to you?
Yes. I will cover all his legal fees. Take this. And I know you won't come so cheap.
Well, well, it's wonderful to know your friends know you this much.
Do me this huge favor. Because I know you're the only one who can work on this tirelessly. Please.
I trust your better judgment of the young man.
So is that a yes?
Yes, I'll represent him.
I owe you one.
No problem.
Tom Bogo, you're charged with trafficking of heroin. Are both the prosecution and defense ready to begin the proceedings?
The Republic is ready, Your Honor.
Your Honor, Your Honor.
If I may bring to the attention of the court, the lawyer Tom Bogo hired ditched him at the last minute.
I am well aware that the defendant has no representation. Mr. Mwako.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm taking up the defense of Tom Bogo. I wish to place myself on record.
Are you aware we were scheduled to begin trial today?
Yes, I am aware, Your Honor, and I am constrained to seek adjournment, considering that I've just taken up the matter.
Your Honor, this is a gimmick by the defense to buy time for the defendant and delay justice.
Your Honor, if my client is guilty, as the prosecution alleges, then a few more days or weeks will not make any difference as to the findings or verdicts.
All right.
The defense was well aware of their lack of representation. They had enough time to look for an alternative.
Well, since this is the first application for adjournment, and Mr. Mwako has just been instructed, I will allow it.
Your Honor.
This court will hear this case on the 19th of this month from 10 a.m.
Your Honor, I wish to be heard on the matter of bail.
The Republic opposes bail for the defendant, Your Honor. His accomplices, Anastasia Momo and Mugure Livingston, posted bail last month and were last spotted crossing the border into Somalia.
If they were seen crossing the border as you claim, why were they not arrested?
My thoughts exactly.
I have no idea, Your Honor. I'm not a policeman.
Your Honor, that has nothing to do with my client, since each of them was charged with
The three
different counts of-
worked in cahoots. So it is only proper to assume that Tom Bogo would follow suit by skipping bail.
Your Honor, Jeff Okello, the owner and CEO of TNT Mining, will personally vote for my client and post bail of whatever amount the court decides.
The amount of money from a big shot is not of importance here, Your Honor. We are seeking justice.
All right. Now, in the light of his supposed accomplices having skipped bail, I have no alternative but to deny bail. Tom Bogo will remain in custody until the hearing of this case is finalized. Next case.
Look at him. He looks filthy.
Well, industrial area, Raymond. Prison is not Hilton.
Get him out of there.
I will do my best.
Get him out of there.
All rise.
On the matter of the Republic versus Tom Bogo, let's begin.
The reason we are here on this lovely morning, wasting valuable taxpayers' money on an open and shut case, is because the laws of the land of the Republic of Kenya state that an accused, a lawbreaker, is entitled to a hearing. However glaring the evidence is, they are entitled to a hearing. So this is just a formality. A formality in proving that Tom Bogo is guilty of drug trafficking in heroin. The state will provide evidence, solid, hard evidence, of Tom Bogo's involvement in distributing these drugs using cake deliveries as a front. The state will also place him at the scene of the crime where he was found with 10 pounds of heroin in his hands, meant for delivery. As I said, this is just a formality.
The reason the state insists on such formalities is simple. It's so that innocent people do not go to jail for crimes they have not committed. A few rotten apples in a basket? Do you throw the whole lot plus the basket, or do you take your time to remove the few rotten ones and spare the good ones? Tom Bogo is a good apple in a basket of rotten ones. In the course of this so-called wastage of taxpayers' money, we will prove to the court that Tom Bogo is innocent, and he just happened to be caught in a web of drug traffickers in a basket of rotten apples, so to speak. Let us take our time to remove the few rotten ones and spare the good ones. Tom Bogo is innocent, and his only crime is trusting people he knew as friends.
Officer Jeff Kiriba, please. Briefly describe to this court the circumstances that led to the arrest of Tom Bogo.
I am based at the Anti-Narcotics Division of the police. For the past 21 months, we have been investigating Livingstone Mugweru and Anastasia Momo for the delivery of heroin within the city. Mugweru has been receiving heroin from the port of Mombasa as flour from Pakistan. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough evidence to link him directly with the smuggling of this illegal drug. We wanted to bring the big boss and all his workers down. So, we've had him under surveillance for the past 11 months.
Since you already had the information that Mugweru was the trafficker, why did you make the arrests and stop this cartel?
He received information that he was being watched. We had a mole in the department. So he cleaned up his act and changed his tactics, which I must say was a blessing to us.
Why so?
We were convinced that he had several channels of distributing the narcotics, but we couldn't establish how he did it. And since we were watching him closely, he relied more on one of those channels.
Officer, please tell us about this channel.
His girlfriend, Anastasia Momo, ran a successful bakery in Westlands called Anastasia Cakes. She specialized in black forests and wedding cakes.
How successful was the bakery?
She made between 20 to 45 deliveries in a day, and sometimes she sold them in pieces to some clients.
I still don't get it, officer. How was the bakery the channel?
Right at the heart of the cake was the heroin, covered in a stash of cream and icing. To the regular eye, this seemed just like an ordinary cake meant for a birthday or any other occasion. And because of that, they were able to move around with this heroin cake without arousing much attention.
And what made you suspect that the cakes were laced with heroin?
Well, for a medium-sized bakery, the deliveries were way too many. So we decided to follow the deliveries, especially the ones meant for birthdays for kids. However, we noticed other deliveries being made to deserted non-residential houses. Then we noticed the other middlemen who would package the heroin in different sachets for direct sale.
So why did you not make the arrests at that moment?
I knew the bust would be bigger than we anticipated. I mean, the network was huge, and we wanted to bring the whole thing down. So I sought and found an informer who gave us updates on the delivery points, the middlemen, the identities, etc.
Officer, it is noted here that the arrest of the three, Mugweru Livingstone, Anastasia Momo, and Tom Bogo, were made at the residential home of Mugweru Livingstone.
Yes.
Why?
I suspect they got tipped off that they were being watched, so they shifted operations to the house. Anastasia would package the heroin and Tom Bogo would make the deliveries. But by then we had both the bakery and the house under surveillance.
Did you manage to arrest the entire network?
We carried out a swoop on the delivery points, the bakery and the house simultaneously. 70% of the people involved were arrested and charged in court. The cases are ongoing. Those who exchanged fire with the police were either killed or injured in the swoop.
Officer, tell this court the role of the accused Tom Bogo in Muguru's drug operation.
Tom Bogo first came into the picture when we started having a surveillance on Muguru's house. We observed that he made deliveries on several occasions, and he spent a lot of time with Muguru at the house. They are, after all, distant cousins.
Did you have evidence that they worked together?
Yes, we have photographic evidence and the heroin he was arrested with.
Are this what you're referring to, officer?
Yes. As you can see, he made several drop-offs at several locations.
Thank you. Your Honor, these photos put the accused at different delivery spots and the accused with 10 pounds of heroin in his possession on the day of the arrest. I'd like to submit them as evidence.
Exhibits accepted.
Thank you.
Is it possible that Tom was making the deliveries without necessarily knowing that he was delivering narcotics?
As I mentioned before, we've had constant surveillance on Tom Bogo the whole time. On one occasion, he carried 10 pounds of heroin in a bag, unlaced, and delivered it to a certain location downtown.
But it was just a bag that he dropped off. It was just cakes that he was delivering. How sure are you that Tom was aware that he was delivering narcotics? Muguru could simply have asked him to drop off a bag, and he simply obliged as an employee. Besides, he was merely delivering a Black Forest cake for a child's birthday. If you were a delivery man, would you cut a cake in half to see its contents if your employer asked you to make a delivery?
Objection!
Your Honor, my client is connected to this case because of deliveries that he made. Deliveries that he made without knowing that he was delivering narcotics.
Well, I'll allow it. Inspector, please answer the question.
Well, if I cut the cake in half, I would have to eat it myself.
In which case, then, it would not be deliverable if there is such a word.
Yes.
Thank you.
But I would be aware of my cousin's dealings, especially if he's got a lot of money and no legitimate business or job. I would be aware. He knew what he was doing, and as such, what was going on.
Do you have evidence of it? Can you prove that Tom was aware that he was making deliveries of narcotics? You were full for quite a while before you were tipped off, weren't you? Do I take that as a yes?
Yes.
So do you have evidence that Tom knew that he was delivering narcotics?
No,
This guy
but I
just
can
cakes? Thank you.
Liz, hata ipenda umezidi.
Hey. Ambrose, jana mimi.
Angalau be natural one day. All those colors.
It's the new bronzer. I had to try it.
New bronzer? What for?
Ambrose, leave me alone.
Liz, you are very new here. Usijaribu kuniambia la kufanya.
Wachana mimi.
Wacha tell Mr. Mwako. You know he's my cousin. Wewe kazi yako ni mrangi midomoni tu. Ufanyi kazi? Chunga. You are still on probation. Yes, good. That is the way to work.
Inspector Hamisi, you are the officer overall in charge of conducting the soups on Anastasia's Cakes Bakery, Mugweru's house, and the delivery points or the drop-off points of the heroin cakes, right?
Yes.
How was the soup conducted?
We carried out simultaneous soups in the locations. I split my force into 5 for Mugweru's, Anastasia, and the other 3 for the other drop-off points that we had identified.
What did you find at the crime scene?
In the house that had gone to, we arrested Tom Bogo with 3 kg of Black Forest cake. Inside it was a 10-pound heroin. We found inside his mattress in his bedroom 20 packs of heroin, each weighing 10 pounds. We found traces of heroin in the kitchen where it was being laced. Anastasia was arrested in the kitchen as she was busy finishing up on lacing on the other cake.
Let's back up a little, Inspector. You said you arrested Tom Bogo while he was in possession of 10 pounds of heroin. Is that right?
That's correct.
And Anastasia was arrested while she was in the process of lacing the heroin with the Black Forest cream. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you have to break down the door to get to the kitchen to arrest Anastasia Momo?
No, the door was not locked. It was just shut.
The door was not locked. So Mr. Tom Bogo cannot claim not to know what was going on in the kitchen while the lacing was happening in the house while he was there. Is that correct?
Impossible. He had to know.
How about the bakery?
We found 5 cakes that had been laced with heroin waiting for dispatch. Hidden beneath the tiles in the kitchen were 24 packs of heroin, each weighing 10 pounds.
What else did you find in the bakery?
Next to the drugs, we found 985,000 stashed in a bag.
Did you identify the source of the money, Inspector?
No, but we strongly suspect that it was payment for the drugs supplied.
And the drop-off points you raided?
We were able to arrest 23 people. Those who resisted arrest and opened fire were killed on the spot. A total of 9 people were killed on the spot. 7 other people were injured and are currently in the hospital.
Did you find any drugs at the drop-off points?
Yes, we did. In fact, the warehouses the drop-off points were warehouses of the sorts. The men were packing them into tiny sachets for direct sale. We confiscated 1,257 tiny sachets, 52 packs of 10 pounds of heroin from the 3 locations.
Inspector, how sure were you that the drugs you found at the various locations originated from the same source?
Heroin has a signature chemical composition. Each heroin that is produced, newly produced, has got a characteristic atomic structure. So we ran a test on the entire batch, and we confirmed that the entire batch was manufactured from the same person and from the same supplier.
Does that include the 10 pounds of heroin found on Tom Bogo when he was arrested?
Yes.
Inspector, how many times would you say did Tom Bogo deliver the heroin cakes to the respective buyers?
It is hard to tell because we don't know for how long he's been working with Mugweru, because he's been working from the house but not the bakery.
How about giving us an approximation?
From our surveillance record, from the time we started to keep vigil on Mugweru's house, he has taken 10 deliveries, but we suspect there's more.
Why?
Tom Bogo has been jobless for a year now. We can safely assume that he has been working for or with Mugweru for the past 1 year, or maybe longer than that.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Mwako was under police investigation for the past 2 years, but you became more vigorous in the past 11 months.
That's correct.
For how long did you have your eye on Tom Bogo before the arrest?
That will be 4 months.
4 months during which you discovered that he made deliveries of heroin 10 times?
Yes.
You say that with absolute certainty?
Yes. The times that he was carrying cake from the house, that counted as a drop-off of drugs.
Earlier on, you had mentioned that he must have worked with or for Mwako for at least a year after he left his employment.
That's correct.
Yet, he was under your surveillance for 4 months?
We put him under our active surveillance for past 4 months.
Do you realize that what you just said does not make sense?
How so?
Please enlighten me here. Mwako was under police investigation for 11 months. During those 11 months, Tom was jobless and was spending considerable amount of time with Mwako. Yet, you took notice of Tom only 7 months later. And the deduction that Tom was making deliveries of narcotics, and with a count of about 10 deliveries.
Is there a question? Because I don't see one.
The question is, if Tom was spending time with Mwako in the past 1 year, how come he became a drug trafficker in the past 4 months, and not in the 11 months during which you are carrying out your investigation? Why did you take so long to put him under your investigation? Why did you ignore him for so long?
Tom Bogo was never ignored.
But you only started investigating him 4 months later. Almost 1.5 years after you opened Mwako's drug trafficking investigation. And yet, here he is, charged with drug trafficking, while the man you took 2.5 years to investigate is out there with his girlfriends, like Bonnie and Clyde, across the ocean, going to Somalia or God knows where.
We'll catch up with them soon.
Have you ever taken a bribe, Inspector Hamis?
I beg your pardon.
How much was Mwako giving you for information?
Objection, Your Honor.
Your
Mr. Mwako
Honor.
is trying to ruin the reputation of a respectable policeman.
John Kuriba gave evidence here that there was a mole in the police division. Are you that mole?
I will not dignify that question with an answer.
I asked you a simple question. Why it took so long to put Tom under investigation, and you failed to answer.
Objection, Your Honor.
I answered the damn question. He has been distributing heroin.
So you say. No further question, Your Honor.
Inspector Hamisi, where were the drop-off points where Tom Bogo made his deliveries?
It was usually varied, but 5 times he dropped them at the warehouses we raided.
Tom Bogo, how are you feeling today?
Terrible, if I may say.
It will be over soon. Tom, please tell the court how you know Livingstone Mwako.
He's my distant cousin, though he's more of a friend to me. We met about 2 years ago.
You met 2 years ago, yet he is a cousin? He is not a close relative at all. He's basically a good friend. How did the two of you meet?
He hit me with his car as I was crossing the road on my way to work. I was not badly injured, only a few bruises. One day when he was checking on my progress, We talked for hours. That's where we discovered that we had something in common, and we kept in touch since then.
Why did you start spending so much time with him, being in his house almost every day?
I quit my job about a year ago. I went to him to ask him to help me to get a job. He told me that he was opening a courier company and he would hire me once it was set up.
Where were you working?
Blue and Fast Courier. I was the supervisor of Central Nairobi. Things got really tough for me financially. Mugweru would invite me at his house to have my meals as I continued to job hunt. That's how I ended up being in his house almost every day.
What did you do for rent?
I used to do odd jobs for Mugweru, mostly deliveries. He would send me to deliver packages in various places within the town. Then he would tip me between 2,000 and 5,000 shillings, depending on the weight and his mood. I managed to accumulate the tips and paid my rent.
Were you aware of what you were delivering?
Not really. If it was a package, it would be in a bag that was locked with a padlock. The letters were sealed. The only time I knew what I was carrying was when I was going to deliver cakes, sometimes from his house where his girlfriend Anastasia would bake them, or he would request me to pass by the bakery and pick one.
You never noticed anything suspicious?
Never once did I suspect anything.
You never even questioned yourself why he was giving you such huge tips to deliver a cake that was the same price as the tips that he was giving you?
I don't know how much one Black Forest cake would go for.
Did you eat the cakes in the house?
Yes, we used to eat different types of cakes, mostly during the weekends. His girlfriend Anastasia would bake them all day.
Apart from the deliveries, what else did you do for him?
He would send me to pick parcels and letters from different offices and houses, of which I did not know the content.
Why were you never curious about what you were picking and dropping?
Mugweru was taking care of me. Literally, he was feeding me, he was giving me enough tips to pay my rent, and he was even helping me to get a stable job. What more would I ask for?
What happened on the day you were arrested?
I was in Mugweru's house as usual. I had gone there for lunch. Anastasia was in the kitchen baking. When the cake was ready, he asked me to deliver it. I agreed. As I opened the door to walk out, I came face to face with a barrel of a gun between my eyes. I was pushed back as the police entered and raided the house. Then they got Anastasia and Mugweru and cuffed them. Inspector Hamisi took the cake I had and split it into two, exposing a packet of white powdered substance. I was so shocked, so shocked. He told me that it was heroin, and I was arrested for drug trafficking. I tried to explain, but it all fell on deaf ears. Then we were all taken to Kileleshwa police station.
Did the police investigate into the matter that you were not aware of the heroin in the cakes you were delivering?
No. No one even wanted to hear what I had to say. It was like I was in a bad dream.
Thank you. Your witness.
If I provided you with a place to sleep and food, and then sent you to dangerous places to make deliveries, you'd do that without questioning, huh?
I was not being sent to dangerous places. Muguru only asked.
If Muguru gave you a package with a huge sign, "Do not shake," explosive, you'd go right ahead and make the delivery, considering it might explode in your hands, costing you a limb or your life?
The packages were not exploded.
If they were, would you still make the delivery?
At the expense of my life, no.
Now, you testified that Muguru was planning to open a company and had promised to hire you. Is that so?
Yes.
So while you're bombing at his house and making drug drop-offs, did you at any particular time ask yourself where he was getting all this money from?
From business.
Business? A business that involved him sitting in the house the whole day and you making mysterious deliveries and pickups? How long have you been making these deliveries?
For about a year now.
Basically the entire time that you were off employment, huh?
Yes.
How free, how comfortable were you in the house?
It was like my second home.
So you'd walk in and out of the kitchen, bathroom, bedroom with ease, huh?
Yes.
And this Anastasia, how often was she baking in the house?
Almost every weekend.
Did she lock the door to the kitchen while she baked?
No.
For a whole year? For a whole year, almost every weekend, she baked and laced a Black Forest cake with 10 pounds of heroin.
That's what the police told me.
In a kitchen that was not locked. In a house where you were free to move in and out as you please. And you never noticed that she was packaging heroin? How possible is that, Tom?
I mind my own business.
Liar.
It's true. It's true.
You knew exactly what was happening in that house. You knew you were delivering heroin cakes and collecting money for the same.
I did not know anything. I was just following Muguru's instructions.
You were on his payroll. You made more money with the deliveries than you would have employed as a courier boy, didn't you?
I had no other choice.
Is it true that the deliveries were paying you more than a regular job?
Objection, Your Honor. My client is being harassed.
Tom Bogo spent 1 year in Muguru's house running his errands. He spent most of his time in his house while he was supposed to be job hunting. Doesn't that beat the logic that he claims not to be aware of what was happening in the house?
Overruled. Go on.
Answer my question. Answer my question. Did the deliveries pay more than your regular job?
Yes, the deliveries were paid more, but I did not know that I was delivering drugs. I'm just an innocent, trusting fool paying for the sins of the guilty rich ones.
Sina pesa.
Ala? Hata salamu za Mungu pia hutaki?
Sina pesa.
Yo. Wajua Juzi nilimwona Rene akitoka hapa. But she was very annoyed. Kwani, what have you done? Ama umempatia mapacha badala ya mmoja?
Ambrose.
Yeye si kwa ubaya. Lakini unajua ameanza kunenepa tena kwa haraka sana. Safari hii inaonekana ni mapacha tu.
Ambrose, nimesema sina pesa.
Jo. Unajua kiburi chako kitakuharibia. Pride comes before the fall. And Mr. Mwako should not know about the twins you've given Rene. It is a very serious offense. Na mzee akijua, I don't know. There's going to be war in this office. Joe, what's happening? Rene anaacha kazi? Hii ni recommendation yake? Joe, naongea na wewe. Rene anaenda? Joe.
Yes. And there goes your cash cow. So leave. Nimwambia kunifuata juu ya pesa utaacha. Ondoka.
For a whole year, Tom Bogo was on the payroll of Mwako Livingston. He made daily deliveries and was paid cash for packages he dropped or collected for a whole year. He was arrested with 10 pounds of heroin in a Black Forest cake. There is photographic evidence. For a whole year, Anastasia Momo baked the heroin cakes in the very house he lived in. And now he claims he was unaware of it? Please. For 1 full year? Your Honor, let the evidence speak for itself. And the evidence clearly indicates that Tom Bogo trafficked in narcotics, heroin to be exact, and he was well aware of what he was doing. Let the evidence speak for itself.
I would like to recall the last words that Tom Bogo said while he was on the stand. That if he was dealing in heroin, he would have been a rich man. If he was dealing in heroin, he wouldn't be here because he would have paid his way out. And I agree with him. He was duped into believing that Mwako was helping him until the day that he was arrested while in possession of 10 pounds of heroin. He is innocent. His financial status at the moment cannot say so more clearly. Let the police get back into the street and arrest the masterminds of the whole drug network, and not the small fish that get caught up in the net that is meant for the drug dealers.
We will reconvene in 5 days for the ruling.
Yes, he knows something we don't know.
Miss.
Wacera, mimi.
I have news about Rene.
Not interested.
Rene anaondoka? Anaacha kazi? Eh? Please. Mimi ndo sijui? Eh? Mimi pekee ndo sijui? It's very serious. This is very serious. Mimi ndo nimeachwa peke yake, sio?
My judgment is brief. Tom Bogo, despite your claim that you were unaware of the contents in the goods you were delivering and collecting, I hold you responsible for the drugs you couriered. You are an adult, and you should behave and act like one. Ignorance is not a defense. Although you may have been taken advantage of, this court finds you guilty as charged. Taking into consideration the mitigating circumstances and the fact that you are a first offender, you are hereby sentenced to 1 year imprisonment. We are adjourned.
All rise.
One year imprisonment?
Well, it was a win, Jeff. It was a win. He would have spent 10 years plus in prison.
But 1 year?
Well, it was a good judgment, trust me.